to Michael Lowry, who has 30 seconds to introduce his question.
Yeah, could I ask the Minister to outline your views and give a comprehensive statement in relation to the current crisis at the Irish Greyhound Board, and to say that those of us who are living in rural Ireland and who are familiar with what has happened, it is very sad to see the level of disunity and rancour that exists. The industry is tearing itself apart, and there's no winners in this situation. Everybody loses, particularly the trainers and the owners of greyhounds, who cannot run them at the high end of the market. Now, Harold's Cross has been a bone of contention, and Minister, as you're aware, an agreement was reached between the Department of Education to purchase Harold's Cross last week. First question I ask you is, do you intend to approve the sale of Harold's Cross? Secondly, could I say to you that we haven't had racing at Shelburne Park for 12 weeks, and as a result of that, owners and trainers have lost prize money in the region of 300,000.
Okay,
and we also have a situation where trainers are running dogs down the country, which is putting pressure on local tracks as a result of not having Shelburne Park available to them. So I would ask you, Minister, to outline your views on this and your senior minister's views and the government's view.
Minister, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you, Laskin Corla. Thanks, Deputy Lowry, for raising this issue. Just I'll get into some of the details in the supplementaries, but to say at the outset, Bord na Gan is a commercial state body established in 1958 under the Greyhound Industry Act of 1958, chiefly to control greyhound racing and to improve and develop the greyhound industry. Bord na Gan has faced very difficult financial challenges in recent years. It continues to operate in a very difficult financial environment. Through the period of the recession, a significant reduction in commercial income from attendances at stadia, tote receipts and other sources coincided with a reduction in state funding for the sector. The impact of these pressures has been exacerbated by a significant debt burden. The Government has worked to restore the state funding to its previous levels, but challenges of reducing the debt and increasing commercial incomes remain significant. These matters have been of significant concern for my department for some time, and it was against this background that Indicon economic consultants were asked to conduct an objective assessment of the Board's activities. Indicon made a number of recommendations to improve the financial position of the Board, including measures to reduce costs at loss-making tracks, the development of new co-mingling and fixed odds betting opportunities, the development of TV rights and other commercial opportunities at stadia. While all of these recommendations are important, Indicon also recommended that the Board actively engage in a programme of asset disposal in order to reduce the debt in a meaningful way, and in this regard referred to a number of specific assets, including Harold's Cross Greyhound Stadium. Bord na Gan has been working its way through the Indicon recommendations, but progress on the development of a commercial income has been difficult. In particular, a significant burden of debt remains and inhibits the scope for investment in the sector. Against this background, the Board took the very difficult decision in February to close Harold's Cross and prepare it for sale, in part because of its very close proximity to Shelburne Park Stadium. And in this regard, I understand that on the 2nd of May, the Board received an offer from the Department of Education and Skills for the purchase of Harold's Cross Stadium for the construction of a school or schools, and has decided to accept it subject to obtaining necessary approvals. And on that point, specifically responding to one of your questions, we expect, myself and Minister Creed, we expect to receive the details of the proposal of the sale from the Board shortly, and will give it due consideration, taking into account the need to develop the sector. The rest of the
rest can be included in the official report. Minister, you have 1 minute and 1 minute.
Minister, first of all, I'm asking you and your department to re-enter negotiations to allow for an agreement to reopen Shelburne Park. Secondly, we need an answer to what your position is in relation to Harold's Cross. My understanding that Harold's Cross has been sold, an agreement has been almost reached for monies in excess of €20 million. We've been told by former chairman of the board consistently that it was worth 4 to 6 million and that it shouldn't be sold because we weren't getting value for it. Secondly, I want to ask you this question directly, Minister, and I'd like a straight answer, because we're going to get no progress until we know where we stand. I have attended several meetings with both groups and individuals, and the question I'm asked all the time is, does the Minister, you and your government, consider sacking the board? Will you and your government sack the board? Or have you and the government got confidence in the board to lead and administer the Irish Greyhound board? And that question needs to be answered. Do you have confidence in the board? Are the board going to remain in position? If we had an answer to that, maybe we could get down to negotiations in terms of reopening Shelbourne Park.
A couple of points. Thank you, Deputy. To finish on the approval, the details haven't been sent to the Department, to Minister Creed and myself, and I think they also have to get the approval of the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. But, I mean, and we're not at liberty because the Department of Education have requested that the details of the sale the full details of the sale not be disclosed because of market sensitivities, but to say that the process has gone through the due process in a transparent way. Sacking the board is a very simple populist notion. This board, no member of this board was a member of the board when the decision was taken to develop what was the beginning of the legacy debt, in other words, to develop the new stadium in Limerick. So no member of the board was there when that decision was taken, and Indicon recommended that the board be strengthened with certain skill levels. That has happened. This is a thankless job, and as they have progressed to work down through the debt, it is a commercial semi-state company with the duty to manage the greyhound industry. We can do our part with regard to new legislation to try and underpin that. But essentially, we have to have confidence in the board to do their job. That's what they're there for. All the appointments that have been made since 2015 have been made through the Independent Appointment Service. Look, we have not engaged or interfered with it. And in line with the Indicon recommendations, those people have been appointed with skills in legal, in veterinary and in financial and banking. So those are the people that are there. And when people talk about the board, they tend to talk about a board that membership has changed fundamentally.
Yeah, time is up, Minister. Thank you, Deputy Lowry. No? Deputy Lowry? Any further? No?
Yeah. Well, can I say that at the meetings that we regularly attended, both privately and publicly, we've been all the time told that Harold's Cross wasn't worth selling, that it was valued between 4 and 6 million. And I and other public representatives have been lambasted, but my theory is very simple, that the board needs to spend its money. At the moment it's servicing a debt and it's paying an interest bill of $1,150,000 per year. As a result of that, there's no money left for marketing or for promotion of the industry, and breeders and trainers are suffering as a result of that. So the issue of the debt needs to be resolved, and I think you should be asking the board for their solutions in relation to that urgently. And finally, Minister, I'm asking you for a direct question. Do you or do you not have confidence in the board? Will the board be sacked or will they not? We need to know that before we can make progress.
The board won't be sacked. We have confidence in the board. In its strategic investment business plan, it envisaged 12 million as necessary receipts from the sale of Harold's Cross as part of the business plan to actually work through its debt. While I'm not, regrettably not at liberty to disclose the actual sale value, it's substantial enough that it deals with the debt significantly. And I think that's you're dead right, Deputy. Unless money can be put into the industry in prize money, promotion and marketing, and upgrading of some of the stadia that are beginning to look a bit dated in the same way we see in horse racing stadia. Unless it can do that, and we underpin it with new legislation to restore confidence in government's regulation and welfare. If we do that, and you made a point at your opening comment about the industry and the sector being very divided, look, I would appeal to everybody to sit around through the mediation process that's there and available to see if we can get racing back in Dublin. It's very important that that happen without delay.
Thank you very much.